everyone, and welcome back to the Imagine with Keira podcast. We're joined by an extremely special guest today, and I would love to have her introduce herself.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello, Keira. I'm Heather French Henry, Miss America 2000. I spend most of my time working on behalf of military veterans. I was the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs for the state of Kentucky for 2 governors, but also work with a wonderful education initiative called Global Game Changers. And I also provide media training with Brio Cotterman Media. So like many of you out there who multitask and have a plethora of talents, I love to say that I love diversity within my life, diversity in projects, diversity in subjects, and I really pride myself on being able to provide a fully developed platform on all of those wonderful initiatives.
That's amazing. Well, you are a phenomenal force and inspiration for me throughout the years in the organization, and so I'd love to hear what your Miss America journey looked like.
Wow, my Miss America journey actually took me a half a decade in competing to win Miss Kentucky in order to then win Miss America. But truthfully, pageants weren't the only thing that I was involved in when it came to stage and community. I was a Girl Scout for 12 years. I got my Gold Award in 1992. That gave me a great entree into what community service truly looked like, and service learning, where there was an initiative. We created a path to get there and then earned a badge. And then being a part of a group was very important as well. But I also was born performing on the stage. My parents sang Southern gospel. So I sang in every one-room church there was on the eastern and northeastern side of Kentucky. And then I was also involved in musical theater and the arts, but also loved academics. So I felt like where I was raised in Augusta and Maysville, Kentucky, had a pretty well-rounded childhood and upbringing, and then becoming Miss America and taking on veterans issues because my dad is a disabled Vietnam veteran. I believe that whole background, the totality of all of that, really helped me when it came to connecting with other humans, because the job of Miss America, as most of you know, every 18 to 24 hours, you're in a different city, a different state. In our days, we were doing 30,000 miles a month. It was just nonstop. And so being able to connect with people on every different level of where they are in their life is really ultra important as Miss America. And I feel like that my journey to Miss America really helped to build the foundation for that.
That's amazing. So your work with veterans is something that really stands out to people when they think about your reign as Miss America. So I'd love for you to have you share more about how that got started and some of your proudest moments in that work.
So, of course, first and foremost, I'm always going to be the daughter of a veteran, which is very important to remember. That the title of Miss America, while it does precede me wherever I go, no matter if I were to become President of the United States, they would say, Madam President, former Miss America, Heather French Henry. Not that I'm making an announcement at all. I will not be running for president. But it does have an impact the rest of your life, but so does being the daughter or a military connected person, right? So when you're in the family of a veteran, there are really direct impacts that help to shape your life. And so being raised in a household with a father who's a disabled Vietnam veteran from the Marine Corps who had co-occurring issues with PTSD and substance abuse, seeing him struggle for more than 30 years, by the time I was 15, he actually was able to get some help and assistance, which is really what encouraged me, because he was dealing with these issues long before I was born and then into my life. And then being able to see him to start that path toward recovery was really important. And this was, pre 9/11. This was 1999 and 2000 when I won. And we just did not have a plethora of resources then. After 9/11, the world sort of woke up. It was our Pearl Harbor moment where people realized that our military really did need additional resources, and we just were not getting that to them. And Vietnam veterans still had a stigma around PTSD, all the issues that they were facing, healthcare issues. And so being a Miss America who wasn't a veteran, but was the daughter of a veteran, had a really interesting impact because I had this national voice, this platform, and I was able to tell a story they hadn't really heard before. And that was from a child of or a family member of a veteran. That was a really important, impactful moment for me. And that really helped to set the stage for all the legislative work that I got to do in Washington, D.C. and beyond. it really was the foundation for me then becoming the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs here in the state of Kentucky for 2 governors, and the work that I still continue to do today.
Such important work. So, as you mentioned, you grew up singing, and talent is such an iconic aspect of the Miss America competition. So, I'd love for you to share more about your talent.
My talent was singing, of course, and I did As If We Never Say Goodbye from Sunset Boulevard. So I did not do Southern gospel, although I was raised singing Southern gospel. I did love jazz music. I still do. I love singing jazz. But musical theater, I really felt was my home. And I always resonated with Norma Desmond, who's the character in Sunset Boulevard. And at the time when I chose that song, I actually had seen Glenn Close, who is the actress who was performing, and she was touring with Sunset Boulevard. And it really just, it spoke to me, that particular song. If you listen to that song or any of the songs like With One Look, As If We Never Say Goodbye, it really talks about someone coming back into the spotlight and loving the stage and the atmosphere around it. And I just remember growing up and being at rehearsals for theater at the old Washington Opera House in Maysville, and just the nights just sitting there in the seats and watching your friends practice on stage, and then when you would get called on stage, and then for opening night, just the nerves that get to you. I just always loved singing and being able to perform in any capacity, truthfully. But I will tell you what's an interesting little tidbit about me. Karaoke terrifies me. Like I can perform in front of millions of people, but if you put me in front of a karaoke mic and a machine, I really, that puts me a little off edge.
That's understandable. Karaoke is a beast all of its own, so totally get that.
I don't know if I should be bad, because it's funnier if you're bad. But it's not like I want to go up there and perform, because as you know, when you're on stage, you want to bring your best, but sometimes at karaoke, they don't want you to bring your best. I'm like, I don't think this is the place for me.
That's awesome. So not many people, I think, know this, but you have a daughter who is now competing in the Miss America opportunity. So what has that experience been like for you?
So I have 2 daughters, Harper Renee, who's 22, and Taylor Augusta, who's 20. Both actually, I had them compete in pageants at a very sort of a local level. My eldest daughter started competing in a festival pageant. She won Miss Augusta Sternwell, which is actually a title I held many years back in the day, and that was fun. She did go on to the state festival pageant, and she enjoyed it, but it just wasn't her path or her journey. Taylor, however, my youngest, really loved competing. But I will say, for all of those of you who are listening out there, what's important about this family and about competition, any competition, is not just about the winning, right? It's always nice to get the blue ribbon or the crown. But I put Taylor in a county fair pageant first, because she could have easily have won, but she didn't. And I wanted to see how she was going to handle not winning. Anybody can be a gracious winner. Not everybody can be a gracious loser. And I know we hate to use that word loser, but there's going to be a moment that you don't win. And how are you going to accept that? Are you going to accept that in a positive way? Because truthfully, you can walk away without the crown, without the title, without the blue ribbon, without the medal, and you can still choose to learn something from that experience. I will say, in all of the competitions I've been in, I've learned more from losing than I did from winning. And I've lost a fair share. In fact, as I told you, it took me half a decade to win Miss Kentucky. So there were 4 out of those 5 years that I packed my things and left Miss Kentucky, and 1 year at Ohio, without winning the title. And I learned a lot about myself. And that's exactly what this journey through Miss America opportunity is really about. It's about learning to be self-objective, not self-berating or self-critical.
That's awesome. As you previously mentioned, the year of Miss America is a very busy one, but I'm curious if you have a specific memory that's extra special to you from your year.
There are so many memories from my Miss America year and beyond. One of the greatest aspects is really how all of those tiny details of Miss America have carried over into my life today. So I'm still really doing the job of Miss America as a former or forever Miss America. And like many of my sisters who went back to their home state, we sort of embody what Miss America is to the people around us. The reality is most people will only get a chance to meet a Miss America once, if that at all. And so when they meet each one of us, we realize that we carry the reputation of the organization on our shoulders. And I realize that, and I love being able to utilize that as my platform. But all of those moments as Miss America, wow! I mean, it's hard to even just pick one. I did so much work with the White House. One of my favorite speeches, although probably my most emotional speech, was in front of the Vietnam Memorial for Veterans Day, and then probably the next day we were at Arlington Cemetery, and I was actually in a holding room with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Secretary of Defense, and the President of the United States.
Wow.
And it was just the four of us for an hour in a waiting room talking about my platform, or my service initiative, as you all call it now. That was a profound moment for me, that I was this young 24-year-old fashion designing graduate student, and here I was with the leaders of the nation, listening to what I thought, or what I thought about veterans issues and what needed to be done. So that was an impactful moment. I had fun moments, though. I was on Hollywood Squares. I was in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which was great. We hadn't done that for years before me. So I had some really big moments as Miss America.
It's amazing. So your most recent work with the Miss America opportunity has been with Global Game Changers, and that's been amazing. You can actually see the bag right behind me over there.
You have that. That's great.
So what is your work with that for everybody listening? What's the impact of Global Game Changers?
So Global Game Changers, of course, for those of you who may not know, is a nonprofit educational initiative. They actually are a social emotional leadership curriculum that's free for teachers nationwide for grades pre-K through fifth grade. And I fell in love with Global Game Changers actually before I even started working with them. The co-founder, Jan Helson, had me work on a 9/11 lesson with her at several events. And I really just understood the impact of how we can go into classrooms and we can get children to believe in themselves. Our big mantra is my talent plus my heart equals my superpower. We are doing the same thing in the Miss America opportunity that Global Game Changers wants to do in children. We want to teach them to believe in themselves. We want to have them understand what their talents are, how to utilize those talents to impact for the greater good, whether it's the immediate world around them or something even larger. And so once I came on board with Global Game Changers and was helping to provide some strategic outreach for them, it was really evident that the Heart Badge lessons that we have as part of our curriculum, which is actually just a tiny part of the overall curriculum that teachers use, but the Heart Badge lessons, which there are 12 of, ranging from animals to veterans, that we could really utilize this with our local title holders throughout the Miss America opportunity. Just like you, I'm sure that you go into schools, you speak. Going into schools when I was a local title holder, a 5-time local title holder, that is, was one of my most popular appearances. And so learning how to go into a classroom with a fully developed activity is really super important. When we go in as title holders, it shouldn't just be about the pretty crown and the sash. And of course, they are beautiful. I've got mine right here so that you can see. But it shouldn't just be about the glittery part of what we do as title holders, but we should be teaching lessons. And even for teachers out there, it's great for them to be able to see a more substantive side of our title holders. So case in point, you can actually go online, register for free. This program will never cost anything. We are fully funded through the David Novak Leadership Foundation, but you can go online at globalgamechangers.org, register, go in and search for Miss America lessons, and then you will see all 12 lessons. Like, you don't have to use all 12 of them, but maybe you use a few of them. Me, I would have used the Veterans Heart Badge every single time, certainly, because it not only teaches you how to talk to students, it also has a story, it has an activity, and it's just a fully developed platform for you to be able to take into a classroom. And a lot of times we do notice that our local title holders with their CSI, they have something, they can find a heart badge that actually relates to their CSI. So again, this is a wonderful tool to be able to break the ice going into those school appearances. So Global Game Changers has been making an impact now in every state in the United States. And I'm so, so proud to be able to partner with officially with the Miss America opportunity.
It's such the perfect resource for both teachers and title holders. It's been great.
It is.
It's amazing.
And I did want to also sort of give a shout out because we just actually introduced our, if you can see the Miss America Global Game Changers pin.
Awesome.
So for those of you who are out there doing this, there's a little survey you can fill out. And for the first 4 that you fill out, you actually get a pin for your sash. And I love that because we know all of our local title holders love to put pins on their sashes.
Always.
So yeah, get your pin.
So cool. I would also love to know what the most impactful lesson you learned during your time as Miss America was.
So the overall lesson as Miss America is really trying to develop what it is you're going to parlay into your former Miss America life. You spend this entire year developing this amazing platform or social impact initiative, and you do such substantive work that all of a sudden your year is finished. And the question is, what are you going to do with that? And I would say this to any title holder out there. It doesn't have to just be Miss America, but it could be what you're doing now as a title holder. I want you to think about how you're branding yourself, not just as a title holder, but branding yourself with the work that you're doing. And each and every one of us now, thanks to social media, have the capability to have such a profound impact to the world around us in more ways than even I did as Miss America. And so I do want to sort of introduce a product. One of my friends created a company called Keira, and Keira, it's CRIYA. And what that does is it helps you to develop a one-page website off of your LinkedIn profile. So for any of you out there that have a LinkedIn already, I would encourage you, that's part of your branding. Go in there, fully develop that LinkedIn resource, and then you can go to Keira.co and you can actually utilize your LinkedIn platform to create that one pager. Why is that important? It's about the brand. So had I had that capability as Miss America, who knows, right? I mean, I've done pretty well for myself in the afterlife, but that was a really important lesson that I took with me. And I still want to teach that to young women today who are competing, that what does this mean for you? What's your why? Like, why are you doing this? It can't be just to win a title. You know, we want the authenticity of who we are, the impact that we want to make. Gone are the days where we just pick something, a platform, or just compete because it's a title and it's scholarship. Scholarship is great, but what is this going to do for the rest of your life? So you can start branding yourself now as a teen. Obviously, you have done so beautifully, but there are tools out there in ways that we never had before. So I would just encourage you to look at some of those resources.
Absolutely. Let's see, I was listening so intently, I wasn't looking at my questions. If you were to go back to your year as Miss America, is there anything you could change, and what would you change?
You know, it's interesting. This is one of those questions, like it's like the pageant question, like, oh, I wouldn't change a thing. That's not true. You know, if you really go back and think about your past, all of us can have a moment that we go, oh, I would have liked to have done that better. I actually became really great friends with a celebrity who's from my hometown, Rosemary Clooney. She is the aunt of the actor George Clooney. Wow. And Rosemary Clooney was a famous jazz singer. She was in the movie White Christmas. And she reached out to me. She was the second phone call I received after winning Miss America, which still blows my mind. She called me once a week, every week during that year. I did get a chance to perform with her, which was awesome. We now own her house that was in Augusta, Kentucky. We have a costume collection based on her life and her legacy. We have costumes from White Christmas, Here Come the Girls, The Stars Are Singing, all the movies that she did, which is awesome. But she offered me several times if I wanted to borrow her charts. And this was something that as Miss America, you're always moving so fast. You're always going forward. You know, every appearance you're moving forward. You're never going back to. And I just wish I had taken the time to have taken her up on that, or to spend more time helping or having her help me develop some of that performance on the vocal ends of things, because she passed away a few years after my Miss America year. And while she did impart a lot of nuggets of wisdom, I would have liked to have taken advantage of some vocal coaching from Rosemary Clooney. And it just, there are moments where you just go, man, I should have made time for that. It's hard, no doubt. And that's something that, while I do regret doing it, I mean, I don't lose sleep over it at night, certainly. But if I had to go back and change one thing, it would have been taking more time for that.
Absolutely. Even getting to know her, though, that's such an amazing opportunity.
Wow. She was so fun. I loved her.
That's awesome. Let's see. What else? I always ask people this. My service initiatives related to literacy. So do you have a favorite book?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I love all the Harry Potter series, of course. I haven't quite finished the Eleanor Roosevelt book, No Ordinary Time. I really love the story of her life and how she was able to transition the life of a first lady into a public servant. She really was the first lady that encapsulated everything that we do or we expect now from first ladies. And it's really important for me to go back and see the work that she did, even though it was in a different age and time. She had to be even more powerful because she didn't have all the tools. And as far as getting out the word of community service and being able to be outspoken, I loved her leadership. I think she's one of our more unappreciated women leaders. I know she has been highlighted lots, but I think we tend to forget Eleanor Roosevelt. And I think No Ordinary Time is a book that I'm anxious to finish, certainly. But so I have lots of different, it's just like music. Yeah. I have such a wild taste. I mean, it runs the gamut, certainly.
That's wonderful. Let's see. If you could give a word of advice to every single local title holder across the nation, because they're all looking to you, what would you want to tell them?
A word of advice. Well, there's a lot, but the simplest advice, which also is the hardest piece of advice, is to bring your authentic self. For years when I was competing, whether it was in a county fair pageant or the 4 years that I didn't win the state title, I was trying to be who I thought the judges wanted me to be. And it wasn't until that very last year when I almost did not compete. I was aging out. And it wasn't until my father said, he was put into a coma, actually. Thankfully, came out a month later, but they induced his coma. And he said, I just want you to try one more time. Our veterans need a Miss America. And what that did for me was it turned why I was competing on its head. So instead of competing for the crown, instead of it being about the glamour, it was about the mission. So what's your why? And once you figure out your why are you competing, truthfully, then you can be real about it. So bringing your authentic self is extremely important, because the last thing that you want is to win the title of Miss America and not be your authentic self.
Absolutely. That's such an important message. Wow. I love that.
It's not easy
to
do, certainly. And there are days that are hard. I'm not going to lie. And being a national title holder, being any title holder, there are expectations of you. But, if you're going to be a leader, even beyond being a title holder, there are the same expectations. You might wake up not feeling great. You're going to smile and you're going to suck it up and you're going to move through it, certainly. And so you learn, I think, through the Miss America opportunity, there are beautiful moments for us to learn that I look at other women leaders and I go, gosh, I wish you had had the opportunity to go through the Miss America organization, because what it teaches you in those skills to be able to put your best foot forward, even on days that just don't feel great, you just learn that you just step out the door and you're representing something that's more than just yourself. It's the mission of why you're doing what you're doing.
That's so true. You're such a diverse person, like you mentioned in the beginning. I want to make sure I touch everything. Is there anything else that I haven't covered that you want to talk about today?
Well, so in the end, I'm an artist and a designer as well. And for all of you creatives out there, I just want to encourage you that, your path can be in a plethora of arenas. So when I think about myself as a designer and the education that I received, Design is in everyday life. So, with Global Game Changers, with my media training that I do, with any sort of initiative that I take, I utilize those creative skills and that innate ability to design solutions, to design the atmosphere around me. I do large military educational displays. I find ways to bring in parts of that creativeness that really do make a difference. So, no matter where you are in your life, you can utilize some of that creativity to make a broad difference in the world around you. So don't limit yourself just on that one path. See how what you have can make the world a better place. And sometimes it's in the most unusual spaces.
It's wonderful. Is there anything else? I always say like shameless plugs for anything going on in your life that you want to share?
Well, certainly, I just want to reiterate for everyone to go to globalgamechangers.org, get in there to the Miss America Heart Badge lessons. I would encourage people to go to Keira.co and look at the capability of making your one-page website off your LinkedIn profile. I think that that's something that's really super important. And then also you can go online and look at rosemaryclooney.org and look at all the wonderful collections that we have. We do travel our White Christmas collection every holiday season. This year it's going back to Greenville, South Carolina, which is really great. But in the future, we will be going to the Napa Valley Museum in a few years. So we'll be headed out west. So you just never know where we're going to go. And I usually come as part of that installation and provide some grip and grin for some of the media there. But, I've got a lot of projects going on, and I just love to keep things moving. The spice of life is just the variety in life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to meet with me, and also for being such an inspiration to myself and countless other young women across the nation. You've carried yourself with grace and poise and really shown us what a Miss American can be. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And please feel free, anyone, to reach out to me on social media. I'm on IG, Instagram under Heather French Henry, as well as on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, and Threads.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, and have a terrific rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.